Good morning and welcome to another conversation with Mose. And as always, I pray life is treating you well, wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. And in honor of Poetry Month, which is all April, my podcast wouldn't be a podcast without a poem. And this week I am featuring new poets that maybe you have not heard of, I know normally you're used to my poems, but again, and of course I'll still always feature my poems, but this month I'm doing something different and I'm featuring different poets. So anyway, this poem is from Rudy Francisco from his book, I'll Fly Away, and it's available where books are sold. And he has a YouTube page, I believe. You should check him out, doing some spoken word. His name is Rudy Francisco. And this poem is called, I Want the Kind of Happiness. I want the kind of happiness that you can smell in my clothes, and a smile so big you can still see it when I'm walking in the opposite direction. I want to laugh so loud my demons pack their belongings and decide to move. So these days, I try to take the most mundane things, like waking up or doing laundry, and challenge myself to carve a small celebration in every single one. And I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to what I take from that poem, because normally I would, give you a brief synopsis of my poetry. But from that poem, I gathered that he was just going to enjoy the day, no matter what. He was going to smile a big smile, and he was going to find joy in the day, in the moments, even doing laundry. Which brings me to my podcast subject for today. It's called Doing Nothing is Something. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure, and I always say that I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. But this time I really wasn't sure what subject I wanted to cover. And I try to keep things interesting, and I want to talk about things that I feel is relevant to humanity and to the community and to people in general. And some of us are working full-time jobs. Some of us are full-time parents. Some of us are full-time partners, husbands, wives, business owners, college students. We're doing multiple things throughout the day. And sometimes we're just exhausted, especially the workaholics like myself. And I'm literally a workaholic, and I've been that way as long as I can remember. And to be honest with you, I'm learning, and the key word is learning, to rest. And I'm a praying man, but I also worry a lot. So that's not a good combination, because if you're praying, you don't need to worry. So it's kind of I guess if I'm using this right, an oxymoron. But my point in saying that is some of us are working so hard that we're not enjoying our lives. We're not taking time to smell the roses, listen to the music, listen to the words, enjoying a good movie, enjoying a good cup of coffee, sleeping, hitting the snooze button or turning the clock off and just resting. Resting your mind, resting your soul, turning off your phone, really engaging in, just doing nothing. Because I feel like if you're anything like me, I feel guilty if I feel like I'm not producing anything, if I'm not doing anything that day. And I'm also one of those people that plans out my day sometimes, and I'm learning not to do that. Everything is in pencil, so plans can change, and I'm okay with it. Because as long as I can remember, I've always been one of those people that was obsessed with controlling everything that was happening around me. And I'm still guilty of it. But what I'm learning to do is trust God, do my part, whatever it is I'm trying to do, and then let him do the rest. Because I can't do everything. I try to work out, I try to exercise, I try to eat right. And there's not enough hours in the day to do everything. Some of us do have to do laundry. Some of us do have to wash the car and clean the kitchen. And, some of us don't have maids and people, and I'm myself don't have children. So I don't have like we were when we were kids washing dishes and, and I love to cook, but I hate cleaning the kitchen. But I love cutting a screenplay. I have multiple things that I'm working on and things that I'm trying to do. And I'm working a full-time job. And media is work, having to get on, post content, remembering your passwords and going to TikTok and Twitter and listening with my family. I was thinking about something else. And when I'm at work, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I get, I need to pay, I budget my money for the week. It's a learning process because I truly believe there are people that I don't believe in working yourself to death. I just don't believe in that anymore. I mean, I'm used to working 2 jobs and I don't mind working. I love making money. It's just, I want my money to work for me. I don't want to chase money. I want money to chase me. And I'm definitely in a different space when it comes to how I make my money. And also, which brings me back to the people that we associate ourselves with in terms of who our friends are. They should be encouraging us to rest and take it easy. And what can I do to lighten your load? And I can remember when I had cancer and I had a home in Atlanta, and I remember my Aunt Pam coming over to get her husband to cut my grass. And she was directing him how to cut. She came over and she was like, we were coming over here to do your yard. And I remember like, what are you doing? And it was so sweet. She got him to come over and she got him to cut my grass because I couldn't do it because I was still recovering from my prostate surgery. And it was like I wasn't used to anybody doing that for me. And I needed to get my yard done. But at the time, like I said, I couldn't do it. But she came over and she had her husband cut my grass. And I remember watching her just direct him, and she was fussing at him about how he was cutting it wrong. And, but she wanted to help me, and it helped a lot for her to just relieve me of something. And I miss her something awful. I really do. Ironically, and sadly, her anniversary of her death is this week on 4/20, which is also my parents' anniversary. And I'm grateful for her because I hear her voice telling me to take it easy on myself. She was a big supporter of me and all the things that I did and do. And she was actually one of the first people in my family to read one of my poetry books. And she actually came out to one of my poetry events. And she didn't go to the club. She wasn't one of those club people anymore. And I remember her coming to a poetry event that I did with her and her husband. And she sat in the front row. And I was so happy for her to see her there, and for her to see her watch me do my thing. And I was excited because I feel like it was another chapter in our lives, and she was really in my corner, and I needed that. But getting back to my point is that we have to have people in our lives that encourage us to rest, get the rest that we need, and let them take the reins. What can I do to lighten your load? What can I do to help? Because to be honest with you, I just don't have patience for people that want to tell me how to do my business when they have no idea what my day is like. I still have to do. I'm a one-man show. I'm doing everything all the time, and I can't do it all. And there's not enough money for everything that I want to do. There's not enough money for every project. So I have to figure out ways to, like they say, rob Peter to pay Paul. And like I said, and I love my quality time with my partner. It's important to me. I carve out time to just do stuff with him or nothing. We can lay around, just read books, watch TV all day. It doesn't matter. The world is not going to come to an end because Mose decided he wanted to stop today. Take it easy. Some days I want to make cookies. Some days I want to cook. I want to get a glass of wine and cook something different that weekend, or, experiment with food. And it relaxes me. Or I'll listen to a CD that I've never heard before. Lose myself in the music or I'll read a good book. And to be honest with you, it's been a while, but I haven't read a book this year. I haven't started reading. I've been reading with my partner, but I haven't found a book personally for myself to read. Like last year, I read Viola's book, and I read Michael Williams' book, which I really enjoyed. And again, I just want to reiterate, it's important that we learn how to relax. And I can honestly say I have a hard time with it. I'm getting better. And I mean relaxing without like having a glass of wine or beer, just naturally learning how to relax. And it's something I have to practice. Again, I feel like, did I exercise today? Did I do this today? I feel guilty if I sleep longer than, if I wake up past 10 o'clock, I could have did something. I could have done something productive. But I'm really learning to not feel guilty about it. My screenplay I haven't worked on in a while, and I'm kind of waiting for that to be organic for me because I've been overthinking my screenplay, and I've been trying to sell books. My book sales have been really low lately. And to be honest, I've been real discouraged about it. I have 13 poetry books, and you just want to see people buy your work. I feel like sometimes I had to jump through hoops to convince people that I'm good at what I do. But I appreciate the customers and the people that support my work, my poetry, my photography, everything that's Mo's, the podcast. I really appreciate it because sometimes you feel like you're working in vain. And there's also a few projects coming up, opportunities that I'm kind of still praying about. Because to be honest with you, if God's name is not on it, I don't want to do it. Because I've done a lot of things in the past based on my own judgment, what I thought was right for me. And I've been getting it wrong. And I don't really trust. If God doesn't sign off on it, I don't feel comfortable doing it. He needs to check all the boxes for me. Because I've been disappointed and hurt and taken advantage of. My work ethic. And it's exhausting, like I said. People have stolen my ideas. People have used my gifts to advance themselves. So I'm learning to just pick and choose the people I want to do business with. Like I've learned, all money isn't good money. And the other part is getting more comfortable charging people for my services and for my work. The cost of living is higher, and even despite that, I need to be paid what I'm worth. And that's the one thing I can say about my partner. His financial savvy I've learned a lot from him and learning he's very unapologetic about his worth, and he knows his worth and his value. And it's something that I'm literally absorbing because I think I've always kind of cheapened myself to make other people feel comfortable. And it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of people respecting your art and what it is that you've worked hard to develop your gifts. And they would pay somebody else the same, if they were asking. So it's not a matter of taking advantage of people. It's a matter of your worth. Aren't you worth it? And I know that I am. I know that I am. And I walk in that confidence now. And the other thing, it's okay to work on things that you need to work on. Like I want to be financially savvy. I want to be better with my money, and I want to be able to take care of people that I love, but I also want to be able to take care of myself fully and save, invest, grow, because in 10 years, I'll be 65 and I don't want to work this hard. I really don't. I want to retire somewhat. I'll always create as long as I can, but I don't want to work this hard in my 60s. I do not. And I want to create wonderful content until I leave this earth, but I don't want to work 100 things. I don't want to work like that. I don't want to work myself into the ground. I want to enjoy smelling the roses and spending time with my great nieces and nephews and my nieces and nephews and my parents. I don't feel the need to work all the time. And I'm getting more and more leaning toward that way. I do my part. And if I give 8 hours to a job, I give 8 hours to myself. If I'm giving you 40 hours a week, I'm giving myself 40 hours as well. So I don't believe in giving a company, you're with those people all day, every day. You have to give yourself that same time. You're helping this company be successful. You need to give yourself that same time. But also rest. Stop, chill, and like I said, do nothing. Just breathe. Just listen to your heartbeat and look up at the ceiling and just thank God for your breath, for your life. Because I think we fill it up. And if you're brokenhearted, or if you're going through a breakup or a job loss, if you're looking for a job or looking for love, take a break from it. Step away from it and then get back to it. I'm just encouraging us as people to just breathe. We get so caught up in what we're doing, what we're not doing, what's not happening, that we're really not enjoying our lives. At this point in my life, I would love to have children. I would love to play with my little kids and watch cartoons. And sometimes it's just doing those little things that keep us engaged with life, keep us connected, inspired. Because who doesn't want to be inspired? Whether it's love or anything, flowers, trees, we have to appreciate our lives. Even listening to the rain. If you've ever, on a rainy Sunday, waking up and it's raining outside and the thunder, whether you're alone or with someone, it's beautiful. How can you not appreciate a good rain, a rainy Sunday, whether you're watching Netflix or just curled up having breakfast? If you're missing those moments, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Life is going to continue whether you're working 100 jobs or not. And I just want to encourage people, again, that doing nothing is something. And you have to remind yourself of that. And you need to be around people that remind you of that. And you need to remind them it's okay to take a day off. It's okay to take a mental break. It's okay to say, you know what? I don't want to do that today. I'm good. And don't feel guilty about it. It's okay to take the day off. Excuse me. And even if you don't get paid for it that day, sometimes you need the mental break. And I've learned that God has always blessed me. He's always reassured me that it's going to be okay. It's okay. And like I said, I know some of us aren't in a position to take days off. Some of us aren't in a position to say, you know what, I can just take off work that day or whatever. And I get that. But try to make time. Try to carve out a time, even if it's 2 or 3 hours. Carve out a time to just be alone in your thoughts, to relax. And I'm not saying you don't have to share that moment with somebody. You can. But learn how to just let God do his part. Again, because I've learned also that if his anointing, if his blessing isn't on it anyway, it's not going to matter. The only thing you can do is continue to develop your skills, your gifts. And it's like, for example, if you want to be a wife, if you want to be a husband, then start practicing that. Be a wife. Learn how to cook. Learn how to be a better homemaker. If you want to be a mom, prepare your mental state for having a child. It's like you can do it before you actually get it. So incorporate those things. Practice those things. If you want to be a better whatever, prepare for it. Make room for the things that you want in your life. But you don't need to do 100 things going 100 miles an hour to do it. So, and again, trust your process, trust the journey, and trust where you're headed. Because again, none of us know how long this life we have. We just don't know. We just have to do our best, shoot our best shot every day, because there are no guarantees. And the world is such a crazy place right now. And I'm a firm believer again in rest, breathing, loving, and being present with people that we love and that matter to us. So, that being said, I want to end this podcast with another poem. And this is from Tariana Tank Ball. She's also the lead singer from Tank and the Bangers. You may be familiar with her work and her band, and if you don't, just Google her. It's Tank and the Bangers. Actually, they're a wonderful live show. If you get a chance to see them, you will really enjoy it. But she has a poetry book called Vulnerable AF. And this poem is called For the Body, for the Heart. Would have been fish. Would have been meat. Would have been eggs. Would have been greens. Would have been milk. Would have been fruit. Would have been vegetable. Would have been soup. I would have been good for you. And I love that poem. And I've actually seen her perform it online. And what I gathered for that poem is that all these things that are good for you, speaking, I guess, to someone she loves or loved, that sometimes we are good for people and they don't recognize the love that we're sharing, the goodness that we're bringing. And it's hard when you love someone and they don't realize all the good that you bring to their life. And I also believe that love is love. You know, you don't know who you're going to fall in love with. And I think God blesses us because he knows our heart. So even when our heart is broken, it still beats. It still beats and it still heals. But I think all the people that love and with their whole heart, that are good for people, that are giving willingly, even if it's not received back, if it's not rhetorical or reciprocated, don't apologize for loving, being a loving, caring person. Just love with your whole heart, without guilt, without regret, because your blessing is in the loving. Being a good person is truly a blessing. And I've learned that the hard way. But I know that being good isn't bad. Not at all. But in closing, I also want to talk about my store, All Things Moetic. Please stop by and when you get a minute and check on my books, maybe buy a book or two for the month. Or maybe just buy a poetry book, explore poetry. I guarantee you're going to find somebody that you really like, including myself. And also, I want to talk about being a patron, and any donations would be greatly appreciated into my podcast and my brand. If you go to the website, podbean.com, and go to my page, you can see where you can be a patron and actually a sponsor for my podcast and for my show. And I really appreciate, in advance, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and also contribute to my life. I really appreciate you guys, again, just for listening in the comments. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. Thank you for listening.